Hey guys, Dropkick here. I wanted to talk to you about a game that I have been excited to come to console for years, Insurgency Sandstorm. And just to give you a little taste of what the game is like, here's some footage from one of the console launch trailers. Pretty cool, right? Well, let me give you a little backstory on what Sandstorm is, and maybe by the end of the video, I can prove my point on why everyone who loves modern military/tactical shooters should give this game a chance. So, here we go. Insurgency Sandstorm is a sequel to the game simply called Insurgency, which in turn was the successor to a mod for Half-Life 2 called Insurgency Modern Infantry Combat. Now, I only hopped on the Insurgency train a few years after Sandstorm came out, as when it initially launched on PC back in December of 2018, I didn't have a gaming PC. But I always saw some of my favorite YouTubers play the game, like Level Cap Gaming, Operator Juski, etc. And as someone who was a huge fan of realistic military shooters, I knew I needed to play this game. So, one of the first games I bought when I finally got my PC was Sandstorm. But it wasn't as perfect as I thought it was going to be. I have a pretty decent PC, I think, but the game just didn't run too well. From massive frame drops to slow texture pop-in, the game just didn't feel polished to me. But the gameplay is why I stuck with it. Because at times, it gives you a sense of immersion and tense high-impact combat like no other game I've played before. And here we are today, with a console release that has been delayed a plethora of times. But is the game worth it? Should you pick up a copy for $40? Well, to answer that question, I would say you first need to answer a few others. Like, do you like realistic modern military shooters? Are you okay with a super minimal HUD? Did you fall in love with that one house raid mission from Modern Warfare 2019? Okay, yeah, that last question was a little weird, but let me show you why it's a good question. Here's a small clip from that house raid mission from Modern Warfare, and then I'll show you one of the many nighttime co-op missions from Insurgency Sandstorm. You can then have your own thoughts as to if this alone would sway you to give Sandstorm a try. Here it is.
Get up front! We will get up here now! Roger.
Floor secure.
Right in the stairs.
Charlie, secured!
Once again, pretty friggin' cool, right? It's stuff like this that drew me into this game, and I hope it draws you into it too. Not only does the game allow you to feel like a real-life operator fighting through the Middle Eastern streets and mountains, but it gives you that tense action that we all want out of shooters. Oh, and if you want that same tense immersive combat, but against other players, there's a great PvP side to this game that gives it to you. In the PvP, there are a few modes to choose from. There's Push, which plays like Rush from the Battlefield games, except you don't spawn in every few seconds after you die. You need to wait a bit until your team gets the chance to have a reinforcements wave come back every few minutes to spawn back in. Every team starts with a limited amount of spawn waves, and when those are depleted, the team loses. But if you happen to capture the objective, then you will gain 5 more spawn waves for your team. It's a slower paced version of Rush, but super fun nonetheless. The other modes are Firefight, Frontline, and Domination. Domination being the classic game mode made famous by Call of Duty, each team having to cap 3 locations on the map to score points, and the more flags you hold, the faster more points you get. 200 points being the winning number. Now, on the PvE side of things, you have already seen the glorious nighttime co-op missions that you can go on, but there are others you can do, including a wave-based horde mode called Outpost, which has you defending a designated outpost, gaining supply points to be able to purchase better and better equipment as waves progress and harder enemies come to you. Then there's Survival, which has you running around the map picking up guns and ammunition scattered around as you try to survive until an eventual extraction. The last and most common mode people play is called Checkpoint. This mode, again, plays a lot like the Rush mode from Battlefield, but in a PvE setting, where the bad guys try to stop you from taking the objective by using blitzkrieg tactics. And sometimes they will even call in mortar strikes, fly-in IED drones, or even an attack helicopter on your position if you're defending it or trying to move on to the next one. There is a basic checkpoint mode and a checkpoint hardcore mode, which is the same thing, but you have an even more limited heads-up display, less equipment points to use, and you move much slower. Hardcore is the most realistic way to play PvE, but it's tough as nails. A few last things I want to mention before I get out of here is some settings and quality of life stuff. The most important setting that should be implemented in all FPS games is that yes, Insurgency does have an FOV slider for console. Thank you, New World Interactive. The max you can set it to is 100, but I think that's good enough for most. As for how it runs, the devs say that on the Xbox Series X and the PS5, it runs at a solid 60 frames per second, which I can atone to. While other consoles, including the Xbox Series S, PS4, and Xbox One, will only run at 30 frames per second. The devs also stated that a next-gen upgrade will be coming next year in 2022, at some point. Let's just hope they don't delay it all to hell like they did the console release. Oh, and in regards to settings, I highly recommend changing the Look X sensitivity to 1.2 and the Look Y sensitivity to 0.8 because the default sensitivity is just way too slow. But then again, we all have certain preferences in regards to that, so it might take a little tweaking before you get it all squared away. So, to finish out today's video, I'd just like to say it's awesome that we now have more and more realistic shooters like Sandstorm and Hell Let Loose. Another game we may discuss at another time, but they're finally being brought over to console. And I'm glad that everyone on all platforms will finally have the chance to play such wonderful and immersive military shooters. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I really do hope it brought light to an awesome game, and maybe if you liked it, or me, or whatever, you can go ahead and drop a mortar shell on that like button, click my channel logo, and check out some of the other content I've made in the past. And most of all, I really do hope that I've earned the right to call you a subscriber of mine today. Again, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye, guys.